One, go.
Hello everyone, welcome to the IEEE IZU WIE event. My name is Şeyma Nur. I am electrical and electronical engineering student. Today we are talking about life and career of Mr. Ravi.
Hello everyone, my name is Ethan. I am electrical and electronic engineer student too. I am third grade. Like Shema said, we're gonna talk about Mr. Ravi's life and career. I am waiting for the first question. Mr. Ravi, can you introduce yourself for who do not know much about you, like in 3 lines? Your progress.
Pardon me? Yeah.
Yeah. I am again repeating the question. Can you introduce yourself for who do not know much about you? Or like,
Okay, that's question number one.
Yeah, that's the question number one.
Okay, great. So basically, my name is Dr. Ravi Margasahayam, and I'm NASA's NASA Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I worked there 30 years. Originally, I'm from India, but as a small child, I went to America when I was 22 years old and worked in aerospace engineering and stuff like that. So right now, I worked 30 years in Kennedy Space Center launching space shuttle mainly. That is the program I worked on. But also, I got to launch the Hubble Space Telescope, build the International Space Station, as well as we send many probes to the entire solar system within our Milky Way, basically, including outside the Milky Way, the Voyager 1, Voyager 2. My background is in mechanical engineering as an undergrad, but I got a master's in aerospace engineering from IIT Chicago. And so basically, I worked for Boeing company for about 10 years in railroads, mining, helicopters, commercial airplanes. And then I came to NASA in 88 and then worked for about 30 years in NASA. Other than that, I think my goal in life is to make sure that I inspire the next generation of engineers and scientists to be the best in whatever they do.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for your answer. I'm going for the second question. What was your dream job when you were a child?
Is the second question now?
Yeah, what was your dream job when you were a child?
Yeah, well, I think it's a very good story. Basically, when I was living in Kabul, as a child, I lived in Burma, Afghanistan, and Kabul and Middle East. And when I came back from Kabul in the 60s, 1964, I saw a Indian movie, Bollywood movie called Sangam. And that really transpired me to become an airline pilot, as the movie hero was. And that was my dream job those days. But later on, my parents were not allowing me to fly. And then also, we didn't have much money to fly those days in India. And so my dream was alive. And basically, that led me to what I am today.
Okay. Shema goes for the third question.
What was your aims as a young engineer?
I think I failed a couple of times in my lower level education, and right when we had the Apollo 13 problem in 1969 and 70, almost these three men were stuck beyond the physical reach of humankind. At that time, really, I was impressed with engineering, and I said I'll want to be an engineer. And luckily, as I failed, my mother took me to a different part of the country and put me into engineering. And my goal was to become the best engineer at that time, not knowing really that aerospace was my passion, really, but not knowing that I would end up there. So always I thought that it would be interesting to be part of something big after I saw Apollo.
Yes. So was NASA on your career radar?
Yeah, NASA was never on my radar. It's like we say that in life, you make the journey because you are passionate about something. So the idea is to make sure that you follow whatever you like to do in life. Not everybody can become an astronaut. Not everybody can become working for NASA. But as long as you're a good engineer, aerospace engineer, if that's what you want to do. But if you want to be a doctor, be the best doctor. That is my thinking. So NASA came into my radar only when I started working for Boeing after I did my aerospace engineering in America. And that really opened my doors because getting in NASA is very tough. So even although I was working for Boeing, I was an American citizen, still NASA won't hire me because I didn't have the space background, aerospace background. So finally, I had to tell them that engineering for space and engineering for rockets and engineering for helicopters or engineering for railroads is the same thing. And by doing that repetitively, I got to be lucky to get in NASA.
Thank you. So, what was your inspiration in your life, and is there anyone you take a role model?
Next question.
Yeah, next question. So we start with internet problems. Can you hear me, Mr. Ravi?
Hello?
Your video is long. Okay, it's fixed. Next question. What was your inspiration in your life, and is there anyone you take as a role model?
Yeah, I think we are having some problems with the internet.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. What you're talking about the next question?
Yes. What was your inspiration in your life, and is there anyone you take as a role model?
I think as a child, really not much because we didn't have too many role models when we were growing up. So basically, the whole philosophy was that when I came to America is when really I got to have role models in astronauts and some of the people I worked with. So whoever you work with is the type of people try to help you out. And one role model I had was one of my astronaut friends. Now she's the deputy administrator for NASA. Her name is Pamela Melroy. So you can Google her name, and she just became administrator, deputy administrator.
Okay, thank you. Sixth question. What was the biggest challenge you faced in your life as a student?
I think the biggest challenge I would say is a lot of we didn't have books, we didn't have those days, we didn't have internet, so everything was very difficult to do, and we would take a lot of different days and try to put the notes together and things like that. We could not go into Google and search whatever I want today. I think that was one. The teachers in India, they had a lot of knowledge, but because it was not advanced knowledge like in America, we had always issues with the latest technology, and so we didn't learn a lot of latest technology, as growing up in India. That was what I see a change. Which when I came to America, the whole perspective was different because you could go to the libraries, and the library I went to in Chicago was so big library, So I think that was the biggest challenge was the books and the tools. I used log tables. Actually, I didn't even have a slide rule. I didn't even have a calculator. So those are the challenges we faced. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for your answer.
Today, everything is easier for engineer students, right?
And now everything is easy. Everything you can go to Google and ask anything, basically.
Yes.
So
Another question. What was the biggest challenge you faced about your job?
I think the two times I had problems when I used to work in my first job was in railroads, and then I worked in mining, and then I worked in helicopters and commercial airplanes and the NASA, all in 10 years. So every time I went from one job to another job, especially going into aerospace, they would always say that and then all barriers for entry. And but if you're a good engineer, my recommendation to people is that don't worry about all that, but worry about what your end objective is.
You have some internet problems, I think.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, your microphone is off right now.
Your microphone is muted. We can't hear.
Okay, how about now? Okay. Sorry. I think something happened. The internet fell off. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. So my thinking is that, as long as you have a good focus on your job and you're a good mechanical engineer, I want to make sure that people understand, as you as electrical engineers, maybe you never worked on a rocket, but just because you have the IEEE background, electrical, electronics, you can work in rockets and other places. You don't. Nobody should say that, okay, you can't work in rockets just because you never worked in rockets. So.
Another question. If you had one chance to go back time, what would you change in your life?
I would be born in Turkey. No. I love Turkey. So, yeah. I think what I would have changed is, as a kid, I never appreciated studies, education. My parents were such that they asked me to study, and then I studied. So I was studying for my parents, which is kind of wrong thing to do. You have to study for yourself. So you guys are individuals. I'm an individual. So in the end, what happens is, it's not because of your parents you are going somewhere. Yes, they will help you and guide you, but you don't study for me or anybody else, or your friend or your friends or your family. You study only for yourself, okay? And that is the most important thing in life. People have to understand that it's important that we get a lot of education and hands-on skills. That's one thing we didn't have in India, okay? So if you talk about say gear or a bearing or something like that, it was very hard for us to imagine what it was, or a rocket. We couldn't see that rocket, or plane, or components of a plane or whatever. So basically, hands-on experience is very important. So make sure that you work with your hand. If you don't know something, go and touch it, feel it, and that's how you learn it. And those are the two things I want to change. And then education is important because, like, in NASA also, more degrees you have, more money you get, and also more highly recognized you are. So education gives you the solid background. As they say, they can steal your money, your car, your house, but never your education. So make sure you get the best education you have, because once you get older like me, you can't really study well.
Thank you. I'm going for the ninth question. If you had the chance to travel to a planet, which planet would you like to go and why?
I want to stay on Earth. I'm afraid to go anywhere. No, I love Earth. I haven't seen half the Earth yet. So there's so much places. Me and my wife, we want to travel and all that. So Unfortunately, I love all the planets, I love all the places to go in the universe, but there's nothing there, no life there. So, and there's so much to see on Earth. The Earth is unique. The blue marble, we call it, the blue planet, pale blue dot. Carl Sagan used to call. So, in my opinion, I think it's not important that where you live. What is important is how you run your life and what you do with that life. That is more important to me. I would love to go to Mars tomorrow or moon, land on moon, but there's nothing for me there. I never became an astronaut, but that's okay, no problem. I at least got to launch many of them to space, so I'm happy with that. So, but yeah, maybe I'm afraid to go to space and afraid to fly. So,
thank you. For the 10th question, how was your first time you get a job in NASA? How it felt?
Unbelievable. I mean, it is. I think I was telling somebody today that from 1958, almost 60 years, only about 20,000 people ever work for NASA. So many people put their name as NASA, but they don't work for NASA. NASA is a federal government, work for the U.S. government, and you have to have a American citizenship. And once the first day I went on the launch pad, and I just saw this beautiful rocket sitting on the launch pad. It just blows your mind. I mean, it's not even flying yet, but it just makes you that you're on top of Mount Everest or something like that. It is a beautiful feeling. And at that time, when I joined NASA in '89, I was not a NASA employee. I was a contractor employee. I worked for Boeing company. But then later on, in a few years, maybe 10 years down the road, I became a NASA engineer. So although I was working for Boeing, I felt still part of that beautiful, beautiful environment where man went to moon. You're walking in the same footsteps of Neil Armstrong going to the launch pad. That's amazing. And because I was a vibroacoustics engineer, I worked right on the launch pad, and it just felt like the kings and the queens and the ambassadors and the Neil Armstrongs and all the Apollo people walking on the same footpath and footsteps, and I'm walking in the same space as them. It is unbelievable. I mean, coming from a small boy in Mumbai, India, to this NASA launch pad, we call it the gateway to the universe. So my childhood started in Gateway of India, which is Mumbai, and now I'm coming to gateway to space, which is NASA. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah. For the 11th question.
What is it like to be a part of such a large organization as a person who is working in different files? Yeah.
NASA is such a big organization. I told you, we have 1 million people around the world. So it's very, very difficult to make sure that you become the best in all those people, because everybody is best there. And as I said, maybe 20,000 people work directly for NASA. Rest 1 million people don't work for NASA. They're contractors. But there's all passion. So when John F. Kennedy, who was our president once upon a time, he came to NASA in our office, and he was watching this person cleaning the floor, janitor. And he asked the janitor, "What are you doing?" He said, "Don't you see what I'm doing? I'm launching man to moon." That's what he said. Mm-hmm. So it is the heart, it is the passion that drives the people to things like moon and Mars and stuff like that. So sometimes you feel you are a nobody in such a big organization, but you can make a difference. You can make a difference by making sure you become best in one area, one subject. We call it the subject matter expert. So if you are good in electronics, be the best in electronics. I don't know anything about electrical electronics engineering. I don't want to know, because I'm not good in that. Mm-hmm. But I'm a good mechanical engineer, good aerospace engineer. You guys are much smarter than me. I know that, but I don't want to be your job. I don't want to have a electronics engineering degree, because I don't know anything about it. So you can be lost in a big organization, but you can make a mark. So I did make a mark by becoming the best sound and vibration engineer, and also systems engineer. And I got the highest award in NASA called the Silver Snoopy Award. It's a small pin which goes to space, and the astronaut brings it back and then gives you the award. So very few people get it. Only 1% of NASA gets it. So you can be best in what you want to do.
That's great.
Another question: how did you adapt yourself to be at NASA? And did you ever feel like you know nothing?
Always. I think adapting is very difficult in NASA because you already are working with many people who are brilliant, and luckily, I think because I was very passionate about space and I was passionate about flying, I think Leonardo da Vinci, who was a famous person in the world in 500 years ago, has said that if I can't fly, I can make others fly. I don't care whether I can fly or not. So he keep on designing new rockets and new things and new helicopters. And his design is working on Mars now today on Ingenuity. So what I'm trying to impress upon you is that, yes, you feel like you're a nobody, but you try to adapt yourself by learning from others. So you make mistakes and you learn from others. So you learn from your own mistakes and learn from others' mistakes. That is very important. And in NASA, once you have somebody like an astronaut, like in my case, Pamela Milroy, they push you. They make sure that you are doing your best in whatever you are doing. So that helps you to adapt. And but it's very tough. As a I'm not a white person, so this is the first time. There are very few times people like me, Indians, who worked on the launch pad. They never let only whites work on the launch pad in the past, during the Apollo days. So it was very difficult to break the barrier. But I think education helps, knowledge helps, experience helps. So I worked in railroads, mining, helicopters, and all that. All that experience, knowledge helped. Many things we move on the launch pad is moving on the railroads. So I became expert because I know more about railroads than many people there. So you are carrying a suitcase and you put all the skills in there, and each skill is important because you don't know when you need it in the end, when you grow up. So make sure you carry a empty suitcase and keep on adding more and more skills to that. And when you need it, you take the skill out.
Thank you for your advice. Next question. Can you explain what payload safety engineer does?
Yeah, very good question, really, because the whole purpose of launching a rocket is what? It's to put something in space, in orbit. So you don't want to launch an empty rocket, it is not doing anything for you. What is the purpose? So the purpose of the rocket is to put a payload. And what is a payload? Payload is like a Hubble Space Telescope, or it could be parts of a ISS, or it could be human, like you and me. So if I put you in a rocket and ship you to space, then you're a human payload. That's it. You're a payload, but you're a human payload. So what is my job is to make sure that when you take a rocket and when it lifts off from the launch pad, it has to be, it creates almost 100 Gs acceleration, about 190 decibels of sound load, 3000 degrees Fahrenheit temperature. All this is very dangerous on the rocket. And so basically we want to make sure that the payload is safe. So let's say that you want to launch Perseverance rover and Ingenuity helicopter to Mars, but at liftoff, on the launch pad, if it breaks, then you can send it all the way to Mars and nothing will happen because it will be broken, right? Yeah. So that is the importance of payload engineer. What payload engineer does is he makes sure that he takes a payload like humans or Hubble and makes sure that you vibrate it, you put acoustic load, you put a temperature load, thermal load, and make sure that this can survive the launch. Because if you can take off from Florida, you can go to space.
Yeah,
it will be like a Challenger accident. Challenger accident. It took off from rocket, from the launch pad, but it broke immediately. Yeah. So you can go to space. So the very importance of payload engineer is to integrate all this, and that's why I tell people that if you want to become one thing in your life, is to become a systems engineer. So systems engineer is like when you drive a car, you have to worry about engine, you have to worry about tires, you have to worry about steering, you have to worry about mirrors, everything. So don't just think that your car runs on wheels. It needs an engine, it needs a petrol, gasoline. So you have to understand the whole system, a big picture we call it. So
In every time there is one event and background. Background is
Uh,
more, there is event and background. Background is more important than event.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, next
On
question.
which question you are on?
14.
14?
Yeah. What was the
Uh,
strongest?
Yeah. I think, as I said earlier, so basically, I was working in railroads as an aerospace engineer and mining in aerospace as an engineer. But when I came to Boeing in Philadelphia, I worked in helicopters and commercial airplanes. And that when I saw the Challenger accident in 1986, I was working for Boeing. And at that time, I still didn't have a plan to come to NASA. But the reason I wanted to come to NASA is because I wanted to work in space so that I can solve the problems of space and also become a safety engineer because safety was very important to me. We had a lot of helicopter accidents by the time I left Boeing, and so safety engineering and systems engineering was very important to me. And I think that is the importance of four things I mentioned. One is when you have a failure in your life or in a computer, you have to find the root cause analysis. So then you understand the whole system. And then you have to have the various backgrounds, like me, railroads, mining, helicopters, commercial airplanes, NASA. So it's called multidisciplinary knowledge. And then finally, you have to present yourself, the communication skills. So all these are very important when you choose a job. And this whole thing makes you the best in what you do. Yeah.
Okay. Leading for the 16th question.
What are the top 3 challenges for payload safety operations?
Question 16. So basically, there is ground payload safety and space payload safety. So I was a ground payload safety engineer. That means every single thing which went to space had to come through my office, and we have to make sure that all the components are working together. They fit together electrically, mechanically. Like take two modules of the International Space Station. They have to work together and in space. Because if they don't work together in space, don't have electrical connection, you have to throw it away. And each launch cost me $500 million, $500 million. So you take two parts in space, which cost $1 billion already. And that doesn't include the component part, cost. So you have to throw something away, it's dangerous, or very expensive. So that's where I come in. So I used to send fruit flies. I used to send tiny mice from Japan. I used to send alpha magnetic spectrometer, which is $5 billion. All these things, they were very expensive in their own way, So basically, it is important that the ground payload safety engineer looks at all these things. Like a good example would be International Docking Adapter, IDA we call it. It's on the International Space Station. And all the rockets like SpaceX the other day went and docked with the International Space Station. So if that docking mechanism is wrong, when we launch in space, it will not take any rockets. So you have to make sure that all the docking mechanism is right and stuff like that. And these items would come from Japan to ESA to Russia to India, to all over the world. There are rocket components would come, space station components. So I have to make sure that all these components work together properly. And then, going to the launch pad, we are talking about sound, vibration. Sound is a load, 190 decibels will kill you instantaneously. So that kind of load, if it goes to the rocket, it can damage the component like the Hubble. And that's what the safety engineer does, payload safety. Make sure that the launch is safe, and then also you can connect them in space. So if you take a look for ISS, the International Space Station, it has many, many modules, almost 50 modules, all fit together nicely. Okay. If they don't fit, you have to throw it away in space. And now it is 1 million pounds, 500,000 kilos going around the world at 28,000 kilometers per hour. Amazing, right?
Yeah.
It goes over Turkey every 90 minutes. So you are just staying in Istanbul, but the ISS goes around Turkey every 90 minutes.
Okay, thank you. 17th question. Can you tell us about your experience working with a very important mission like ISS, as well as different countries making different contributions to ISS?
Yeah, I think I would say this ISS has been, well, like we call it, one of the most beautiful palaces in the sky, basically, and it is the Earth observation station for an entire mankind. If there is a problem, earthquake or tsunami, like Izmir had an earthquake, ISS would even look at the problem from space, whereas you and me cannot see what is happening on the ground. So it is very important for us to be in space. And the most important thing about working with different countries, there were about 16 countries total working together, and maybe 30 more countries sending us payloads, and many, like from tiny mosquitoes, fruit flies, stem cells, mice, rats, and alpha magnetic spectrometer. All these payloads we were getting from various parts of the world. And on several missions, we had some problem with the Russians, and they sent a rocket component, the international docking adapter. The vibration was a problem. I solved that problem. Sometimes we would have, like one time we had a Japanese mice. They sent us to 30 mice to go to space, and they sent cheese from Japan to give it to the mice. And then what happened was suddenly the mice. The cheese was sitting in the refrigerator, and the thermostat was bad, and the mice don't have the cheese anymore to go to space. So you don't want to be sending mice to space with no food. So I had to call Japan and get the food from Japan, more cheese for $250,000. So we have a lot of these problems. One time, a woodpecker, which cuts the wood, it damaged the orange tank. And then we had a beautiful payload going to the International Space Station. And when the damage was there, we had to repair the damage. Each day delay is $1 million. But then how do you get rid of the woodpeckers? So people said you have to shoot them, or you can catch them, or you can send owls after them, things like that. So we cannot do all that because of NASA security and safety. So anyway, in the long run, we had put balloons made out of helium, and put them like a birthday balloon, and put owl faces on them. And owl is a predator for woodpecker, and they ran away basically. So a lot of times we have a lot of challenges working with many nations. We have translation is a problem. People say one thing in Japanese, and we have a problem as French citizens. They come and talk to us differently. So each country has a different, unique set of problem, both cultural as well as language problem. Understanding the passion of those people and things like that. But I think the best countries which contributed to space was Russia. Russians gave us a lot of knowledge about living and working in space. The French and the Italians gave us a lot of modules for the International Space Station. And the Japanese gave us a lot of experiments and modules also. So it is a very good relationship. If nothing else, in space, we want to have a good understanding of people working in space. And that's why we send all these astronauts from various parts of the world to make sure that they live, we live happily on Earth.
Yeah, thank you. 18th question. The whole world is following the developments about Mars with curiosity, and as someone involved in this event, do you think the people will visit Mars in how many years?
I think it is important to go to Mars and go to Moon and other things and explore the universe, because if you look at the history of mankind, yesterday I was looking at some footsteps of in the jungles of Africa. So we came from Africa 100,000 years ago, the mankind, Homo sapiens, and we moved around the world, and we did two things best: communicate and also transport ourselves. So those are the two best things mankind did. So as we did that, if you look at the history of mankind up until 1900s, nothing much significantly happened. But only after like the Wright brothers, and then we had the flying and the NASA 1958 Sputnik, everything changed. So last 60 years, what you see in the tremendous leapfrogging of technology is really has changed the whole world as we see it. And so basically, why are we going to space is because we are improving the quality of life on Earth. And by doing so, what happens is basically we are trying to improve the quality of life of all the people on Earth. And that is the most important thing for me. And I think Mars is a little bit tricky than going to the moon. I would say within next 20 years or less, we'll put a man on Mars. That's my thinking.
Okay, we are moving to 19th question.
What is your sentiments or unmanned aerial and spacecraft? How reliable these vehicles are?
Okay, when you say unmanned, you're talking about unmanned in space, like Ingenuity and stuff like that,
Like
right?
Helicopters or unmanned pods, like.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you say unmanned, you're talking about in space or in on Earth?
Space.
In space.
Yeah.
In space. Okay. So like let's take Ingenuity helicopter on Mars, and then we'll also take spacecraft. I think you need a spacecraft like one of the rockets to take you to space. That is a different subject than just unmanned aerial vehicle running around Earth or Mars basically. So even though Ingenuity is a unmanned aerial vehicle working on Mars today, that's the first time in the history we are doing it. So these are important because if you look at the rover goes very slowly and it cannot look at big picture of Mars. Okay, just like you have a car and you can go through Istanbul very easily, but you cannot go around the world very fast, right? It will take you a long time. But if I send ISS, I can go around Istanbul 16 times a day, 90 minutes. Every 90 minutes, I'm going over Istanbul. So I can see much more bigger picture. And that's why you need both, actually. You need spacecraft like a rocket, like space shuttle or something like that to put something in space. And then you have to have unmanned aerial vehicle to do different things. Like look at my fingers. Each one is different. So each one is a tool, different tool. So you need rockets as well as unmanned aerial vehicles. You need many, many things. So we don't know which is more optimal for a different job. So basically, the idea is to make sure that you come up with the optimal technology, or the best technology for the best job. Like if I ask you to take a bicycle and come to America, you say, "Oh, Dr. Ravi, it's going to take a long time." But if I say, "Oh, you just sit on my rocket and you'll come here," or sit on the plane, Boeing 747, Turkish Airlines, it will bring you here in 10 hours.
Yes.
So, yeah, so that is the difference between different tools we have adapted. Mankind is very smart that he takes the tools, like before we have smoke signals, for sound. If I want to tell you something, we have smoke signals, or we have horse coming and telling you what to do, and we also have pigeons. They put information in pigeons and send communication. Now I can send a laser from space, ISS, to the ground to send communication or data. So each time that communication changes, the transportation changes. Both are changing simultaneously.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Another question is another topic. One of the goals of NASA is to touch the sun. How is this project now?
Yeah, well, we've been sending many probes. See, one thing we have to understand is that we are at the mercy of solar flares and solar winds and other things. So we've been sending many probes to sun so that we can check the temperature and understand how the solar flares are formed and other things. So this is a very important concept because all your satellites and all your communication system, like my cell phone, this communication we are doing right now, is all dependent upon the satellites in space, the internet and satellites. So if a solar flare comes one day, it can completely damage. It can stay in space and not bother the Earth, but it can damage all our satellites, which are going up 30,000 kilometers and all that. So if that happens, we don't have communication. All your internet, everything will be dead. So it is very important for us to study not only faraway places like Pluto or go beyond the solar system like Voyager 1 into interstellar space, but also study what is close to Earth and what is how Earth will be affected by that. Okay, so who is watching Mother Earth? We are watching. NASA is watching. We are putting the ISS. We are sending probes to Sun, and we are sending probes to other parts of the universe.
Okay, thank you. Next question. We heard that you have a project with Ecem Tuğlan about Lake Salda. Can you mention about this project?
Yeah, well, it was not a project actually, but it was a plan. Dr. Sarken Sagan was one of my very close friends. Unfortunately, he died in 2016, even before I came to visit him. But I was lucky to meet him in 2015. And at that time, he invited me to Turkey again in 2016. And one of the things Dr. Sarken was working was with NASA Goddard in Washington, near Maryland and near Washington, D.C. in America. And he was telling me that Lake Salda, because of its salt content and other things, and it has a couple of microorganisms, and this may be a very good environment to study what is happening on Mars. And the idea was to take a lot of Martian food we want to grow on Mars, or some of the some of the animals we want to take to Mars, things like that. All the testing we wanted to do in Lake Salda because it would be simulating some of the Martian conditions and stuff like that. And that was a concept we developed, and he wanted to write a proposal to NASA. Unfortunately, his life was cut short. And last year when I came to Turkey in 2020, March, me and one of the girls, Ecem Tigran, she and I, we went to Lake Salda and we touched the water to complete his journey, basically. So it was a great man. I miss it, like really, and that's where I came to lecture, basically.
Yes. Another question, or last question. Yeah. What would you recommend to engineering students who want to work with NASA?
I think first of all they have to keep the dream alive. So they don't want to give up very easily. As I said earlier, Leonardo da Vinci, who was a famous guy, he also said that if I can't fly, I'll let others fly. So just like him, I was having a dream to fly and become a pilot. Never happened, but I worked in Boeing, built a lot of helicopters, built planes, built some of the rockets for NASA, designed the rockets. But then I never could fly to space. I never became an astronaut, but I launched many astronauts to space as a part of my team. So I think sometimes you cannot get what you want, but there's always the other things around it to get the job done. Like a good example would be a team effort. You guys watch soccer. Soccer is there's no one person in soccer, right? There's a whole team helping one person who makes the goal, right? So somebody who makes the goal is like an astronaut, but all the other people don't make the goal, but they are supporting staff, right? So they become part of the team. So it's very important that you work as a part of the team. So for me, and I want to be an astronaut, but I'll never be an astronaut. So next best thing you become to help the astronauts to go to space. So for all the kids who are listening, I think study well in STEM language, a STEM area, science, technology, engineering, math area. Be the best in engineering, because science and math is in here, technology is here. The gap which bridges the science and math and technology, okay, is the engineering. So you can study, one of my NASA managers would say, scientists, they are very good. They study what the world is and how the world is. But the engineers they create something which never was. So today we are doing this technology. We are going back and forth with, Zoom or whatever, with the iPad or whatever. So today is all technology. So you have science, you have technology, math, but then you develop technology with that. Good example for your engineering students is, did you know that steam locomotives were made even before the laws of thermodynamics were known to the mankind? Aerospace, Wright brothers flew the plane even before we knew the laws of aerodynamics. So math and science is not important. It is important, but not important. Without that, we can develop technology because of engineering. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So basically, I'm not saying you shouldn't study science and math. I'm saying that you have to keep your eyes and ears open, and go after what you want. Don't chase too many rabbits. You may not get anything. You chase one rabbit, you catch it. So.
Thank you. There is one question from our followers.
Just one second. Yeah, I will just close the door here. Go ahead. If you want to repeat the question, that would be nice. That way. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, is SpaceX can challenge NASA?
SpaceX were challenging NASA?
Yeah.
No. we're already on Mars, and so every time somebody wants to catch us, we are already one step higher. We're already beyond the interstellar space. Nobody can catch us. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, they're 16 billion miles away from Earth, and Hubble can see hundreds of millions of light years. Nobody can launch a Hubble again.
That's true. Right. There's one more question. Says, how did you know what you wanted in the future in your career?
Can you repeat? What is my career going to be in future?
How did you know what you wanted in the future in your career?
I didn't. I didn't. I just said, okay, here is the goal. I want to be the best engineer, and just kept on going. And I think if you know the history of mankind and history of NASA, there are many companies in the world. But when you say NASA, that's the ultimate. You can have Googles and you have Apples and you have Microsoft, but once you say you're from NASA, that's the ultimate.
Yeah.
So, for me, the T-shirt I'm wearing, see that T-shirt? I don't have to say anybody who I am, and just say I'm from NASA. That's it. People will say, yes, sir.
So that's the top point, right?
That is the Mount Everest for me, There is no Mount Everest beyond Mount Everest in Earth, but in Mars, there is Olympus Mons. It's 3 times higher than Mars. So we are already going there.
Thank you.
I have one question. You said that I came to Turkey. What are your thoughts of Turkey?
Turkey.
Actually, you came to Izmir, right?
Yes. But no, I did go to Istanbul in 2009, just for one day. So I want to come back to Istanbul. When I was a small boy growing up in India, my mother always teach me a little bit about geography. And she says, oh, this is a beautiful place. You should go there. It is called Constantinople. I said, Mom, where is it? I can't even go to Mumbai. You are talking to me to go to somewhere, Turkey. I don't even know where Turkey is. But it's it always was on my list to come to Turkey. And what I loved about Turkey was beautiful people, beautiful sceneries. A lot of my wife and I came last time, and we saw many artifacts going historical, 3,000, 5,000, 7,000 years old, Cappadocia, and some of the Pamukkale and stuff like that. Unbelievable. Seeing some of those artifacts, literally, or climbing down some of the areas where people used to stay underground and stuff like that. So there are many other places I want to see, Göbekli Tepe, and I want to see some of the Black Sea areas. But I want to even see more of Istanbul. So Muj, one of my friends from Istanbul, from Da Vinci Institute, she says, you should come to Turkey, and I'll take care of you. So I'm coming back to Turkey one of these days. So. And I love Turkish baklava. I love Turkish baklava. A lot of Turkish food. So next time I come, make sure we make a lot of baklava.
And next time we can meet and we can turn around in Turkey. We can go there. We can go anywhere what you want.
Oh yeah. We want to come to Istanbul and
yes.
See the city and see the history of the city. Because we just saw one day in Istanbul. So it's one day is not good enough in Istanbul. I want to see the palaces and the Blue Mosque and Topkapi Palace and all the things.
When you come to Turkey, just let me know us, and we will take care of you. I promise.
Yeah, and I want to sit on the Bosphorus Strait and sit on the Bosphorus Strait and look at all the ships going back and forth in the evening, and then have a dinner so that I can be sitting right next to the water, and water should be coming and touching me. There are some restaurants like that on the in Turkey, in Istanbul, or where the water is coming almost to you, from the straits. So
that's a really good restaurant. Yeah. So that's the end of our questions. Thank you for coming and joining our program. Thank you for our listeners, watchers, for joining our program too. Thank you to all my friends. See you later.
Sure. As I said, I love Turkish people and Turkish environment. Now Turkey is getting into space, so maybe we can inspire some of the engineers who want to go to work in space. And I was telling Ichem, my friend from Izmir, saying that we should come again there. Muse is calling me, so we'll have to plan something. Usually we need a small budget to travel and other things, but all my lectures are free, so they're working on it right now. Some we need a sponsorship. NASA doesn't pay us money to travel, so we have to generate our own travel money. And but we give them a lot of lectures, so at least 3, 4, 5 lectures, so it should be easy. We don't like to do this. We like to face-to-face meetings, so that way we can inspire the people. We can see the passion exchange between places. I just want to tell you one small story before I go. I was sitting with Hugo Boss. Hugo Boss?
Yes.
They're in Izmir. And the chief of Hugo Boss is a German. And Hugo Boss has a big factory in Izmir. So basically, I was sitting on the podium with Hugo Boss chief asking me questions. And all the people in the company, Turkish people, they're sitting there. And one of the people, after the lecture, one of the girls, I think, I don't know, she was working for Hugo Boss, or maybe she was a student. She says, Dr. Ravi, where can I find this shirt? I said, can't find it in Turkey. I said, this came from NASA, but I don't have it. So how much is that shirt? Can you take it off and give it to me? I said, right now.
Yeah.
So that is amazing, the passion people have. And then I went to the space camp in Izmir, in the right next to Hugo Boss, and we had hundreds of kids, 200 kids, and then I was sitting with them and taking pictures and stuff like that. And they were like from 5-year-old to almost 15-year-old, and that really touched me very much. I'm not an astronaut, but they still respect me because I'm NASA. and I know so much knowledge. So one message I want to give to your people is, in the end, you have to leave a legacy. There's a book called Infinite Worlds. I can share that with you later on, or you can Google it. Somebody wrote an article on me on that book, and at that time I didn't even know that I was going to be. I mean, the picture he took of me and put it in the book, I didn't even know that it's going to go anywhere. The next thing we know, we retired the space shuttle program and we built a $100 million museum for Atlantis. And then my picture went into the museum on the wall there, And so basically what I'm trying to impress upon you is, you go into life and you want to give back to the world. You came with nothing. Did you wear your shirt or a jacket when you came to this world? No, right? When you die, you're going to go without the jacket. Nobody's going to take the jacket. Yeah. So this is what it is. You came with nothing, you go with nothing. But what you leave is your name. And your name has to be gold standard, And that name has to give back to the world. So you have to have the best education, best experience, best knowledge, best wisdom, and then give back to the world, and share your knowledge and expertise with the world. You can make a lot of money like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, but Steve Jobs died. He didn't take money with him, right? So only you take to heaven or wherever you go is your name, basically. Tomorrow I want to write my book, and I want to convert that book into Turkish. HM talked about it. So it's my journey from India to NASA. And I want to inspire these people, not because I want to become rich and famous. No, I want to share my experience that, if you dream, anything is possible. In English language is very funny. Impossible, the word impossible, it says I am possible. How you read it is important, how your mindset is. So that is the beauty about life, is that I never knew that as a small boy growing up. How many people are in India? 1.3 billion people are in India.
That's so much.
And that's not so much. And I get to come to NASA and work on NASA launch pads. How is that possible? And then I get to launch the first Indian woman to space. She also came from India. So two people, they're journeying separately on different trains, and they come and meet in NASA. And one becomes an astronaut, one becomes astronaut maker. That's the beauty about it.
Yes.
So just go into life and do the best, and be the best in the world. In the end, your name may be Sarkan, or your name may be Ichem, or whatever name may be. You want to have that as a gold standard.
Thank you. So we have to be remembered, and thank you for all my lessons. And see you later, I hope so.
Okay, give me the feedback when you get a chance. Let me know how the Turkish people like me.
Okay, we will do it. See you later.
Okay. Have a nice day.
Say hello to your president.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.